What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel and another video. Today we're doing a little side quest action on the 335. So we're kind of in the middle of revamping the entire car, new turbos, new clutch, full maintenance, new suspension arms. We're pretty much doing everything we can at the moment. But while we are waiting on some additional parts, like the Turner coolant reservoir and a few other small things to finish the car up, I'm gonna go ahead and do something I've been waiting to do for a long time. Today we're finally gonna upgrade the factory headlights. So these factory Halos, they're pretty dim. I do have a Laminex tinted cover on here. It's been on here for a few years, so it's pretty worn. That needs to come off. I'll show you guys how to pull the headlights apart. We'll put rings, new halo rings in. I wound up going with the Precision Raceworks DTM style halos. They're just a white LED ring. But the reason I went with those is because they pretty much bolt directly in factory where the old ones come back out of. But that's what we're gonna do today while we're waiting on parts, like I said. So the front end is obviously already off of the car. This is basically where we're sitting. So, I mean, the front end's still torn apart from taking the motor out. And we got the crash bar back in and we got the radiator support back in, but we're still missing all the cooling stuff. But I put this headlight back in for kind of basically mock-up purposes. So I'm gonna run through how to pull this out real quick. This one's already obviously out. We'll pull this out and then I will show you guys how I break them down and hopefully split this open and get it done right the first time. First thing you're gonna wanna start with is getting the front bumper off. It's pretty simple. So it's a little dark in here, but all you have to do is drop the front fender liner. There's, I think, 6 10mm bolts. Pull the front fender liner out. And then if you look right there, there's the mounting plate for the bumper. There's 2 Phillips head screws on both sides. Once you drop both screws, you can pull the bumper off. If you do have the headlight washers, the easiest way to get these out is to move the cap. So there's a little cap that sits on this. Pull the cap up, grab a pair of needle nose pliers and grab onto this plastic tab right here. Pull this out. It'll be pretty resistant, but you just pull it out, unclip the cover, and then you're good to take the bumper off. And then obviously you have to do the under tray screws. Those are also 10mm like body fasteners like BMW likes to use. Get those out of the way, and the bumper should come off just easy. And then you also have 4 T30s up top. So with the bumper off, that's like the most involved part. And then getting the fender liners out, getting the bumper off, and then you basically have access to your headlight. It's pretty much the same on both sides. If you have the winter package, you will have basically a hose running from the washer tank, which is right there, up and over, and then it'll basically loop down across the bumper to both headlights to supply washer fluid to your headlight washers. That's easy, you just unclip those. Disconnect them, and then really all that holds the headlight in is 5 T30 screws. So there's one here. This one's missing because the hood latch is off the car, but the second one goes right there on the hood latch. And then you have the 2 up front, so you have one here and one there. And then the last one is tucked up right here. It's on the back of the headlight. 5 T30s, and then the headlight pops out. So this is our headlight we already got out of the car. Once you do all that, you should be able to just pull it out. There is one connector for the entire headlight, which is right there. Large electrical connector in the back, that's it. There's no other wires or anything. If you don't have the winter package, you don't have to worry about the washers. And then that's basically it. That's how you get your headlight out. It takes 10-15 minutes at the most. So once you have the headlight out with the bracket, this is basically where we're gonna start. So there's a bunch of different things you can do with these. You can paint the chrome housing, you can make them black, you can put new rings in it. There's a bunch of different ring options available. You can send your headlights out and get them professionally done. But our next step is basically we need a clean area to do it. So I'm gonna take these back to the house because the garage is a little dirty and you really don't want to get dust or anything inside of these when you seal them up, because once they're sealed, they're sealed. Another thing to note that I've heard, this is obviously an E92 headlight. This shares the same as the E90 and E92 M3s, so these are all the same, and the only one that's different is the E90 headlights. From what I've heard, E90 headlights are incredibly difficult to separate. They're basically like perma-sealed, where I guess these aren't. So that's something to keep in mind. The procedure is not the same for the E90 and E92. So luckily we have the E92, so it should be relatively easy to get them off. But that's something to keep in mind. So let's take these back and we will hopefully split them open without doing any damage. All right, you guys, we have gone back to the house now and doing these in a little cleaner environment than sitting in the garage and getting dust on them. So basically, first thing we got to do is take this bracket off that mounts the headlight into the car. There's two T30s. There's one right there, and there's another one on the other side. Pretty simple. Those are easy to get out. So we'll take the bracket off, move the headlight, and then there's our headlight sitting by itself. Next step I'm going to do is clean the headlight, because you do want to work in as clean an environment as possible because you are splitting these things open. So you do want to minimize dust as much as you can. Now that we have the headlight by itself, we're going to pull off all the little trim pieces. So this is the weather guard for rain, and then we'll pull the blinker bulb out of it. And then remove this top cap so we can have access to the inside of the headlight. This next step that I do is not part of the normal process, but I had Laminex tinted covers on these headlights and they kind of got faded and gross over the years and just didn't look very good. So part of redoing the whole headlights was removing these. If you do have these, heat gun works good. It will leave a lot of adhesive behind. So I just had to heat these up, peel them off. And then basically I spent an hour trying to get the adhesive off with adhesive remover, but we finally got it all cleaned off. The main reason for doing this is because we are going to PPF the headlights after they're all done to get a new protective layer on them. Alright, so we got these things all cleaned up. There is a little vent tube right there for getting moisture out of the headlight. Don't forget to take that out. So now basically we're to the step where we can start removing the lens. There's basically two thoughts here. I used a heat gun because I wasn't too fond of sticking the whole $1,000 headlight into the oven. I know a lot of guys use the oven. I don't know the exact temperature settings or time that you need to do that. I think Precision Raceworks actually has it listed in their PDF, but I decided to go with the heat gun because it's a little more controllable and honestly it made it easier. But all we're going to do is take our heat gun and we're going to run it around the outside of the headlight. You can kind of follow where the sealant is, where the lens meets the housing. Just make sure to go over it a lot with the heat gun. Get it pretty warm. It does have to be pretty hot. Then we're going to take these pliers. I think they're clip pliers. I got these at Harbor Freight for like 10 bucks. These made it super easy because they fit right in the channel. And you can just spread them slowly apart and it kind of distributes the load. You're also going to need a screwdriver to pop these little plastic tabs that you see off. It's really just reinforcement for the glue, but the glue is very strong. I think it's a windshield sealant. So we're just going to go around the headlight slowly. Take your time. Don't rush this part. You don't want to break anything. If you are getting new lenses, it's not as big of a deal if you crack the lens or whatever because you're reusing them or replacing them. But I was reusing these lenses because I did not order new ones, so I took my time. They will come apart. So slowly go around the headlight, use the heat gun. Try to not get this glue on anything if you can. It is very, very sticky glue, and it does not come off of surfaces easy, especially if you are keeping the chrome in the headlights. Do not touch the chrome. Don't do anything, you'll scratch it, and if you get the glue on it, it's borderline impossible to get off without sanding the actual chrome off. So just keep working around the headlight, will eventually come apart. There is one little light attached to the lens, that's just a simple little plug you have to unplug. And then we finally have our lens separated from the housing. The biggest pain in the butt for this whole thing is honestly probably scraping the glue out of this channel. You do have to scrape most, if not all of it out to get a good reseal when you reapply the new glue supplied with the rings that I bought. Alright you guys, now we are going to actually start removing the shrouds and the old halos. So they're T15s. I think there's 4 on each housing. There's this front one where the ring will come off like this, and then there's two on both sides that will hold the actual shrouding in. And then it's the same process on the other side. The ring on the other side is actually clipped into the shrouding, so you have to remove the shrouding first. 4 T15s to pull that shrouding out. And remember, if you're keeping the chrome, do not touch the chrome with your bare hands because you will scratch it very easily. And then there's just little dowel pins that align it into the back housing, so just disconnect those and there's your shroud and your ring. And the other one pops off the same. And then that second inner ring is actually just clipped on, so just pop those clips and you can pull the whole thing out. And then we're ready to take them over and get them painted. All right, you guys, we're back over at the garage. I just got to paint the stuff over here because it's a little better over here. We got everything prepped though. Basically just Scotch-Brighted the chrome. There's two different thoughts that I've seen. Basically you remove the chrome or you just paint over it. I decided to just paint over the chrome because it seemed like the easiest. So basically just Scotch-Brighted, prep the surface, use acetone to clean it. These are the projector surrounds. So sanded everything, cleaned it, prepped it, and then the paint that we got. So we got some automotive self-etching primer, so this will hopefully etch into the chrome and the plastic and basically make the paint adhere better. So we're gonna get a couple coats of primer on this, and then we got black paint, and then I have some automotive clear coat that we'll throw over the top, and we'll have a nice gloss black shroud. All right, here's our primered, looking much, much better. So there's about 5 coats on there, 10-15 minutes a coat. Completely covered, no more chrome showing, so that'll be a good base for our black paint. This is the paint we're going with, just like a gloss black, Rust-Oleum, you know, automotive use, but there's a million different paints you can go with. So I picked that one, we'll see how it comes out. I'm convinced the primer will do wonders, so let's get the top coats on now and go from there. And here's our final product. I probably put about 5 coats of paint on them and then some clear coat on top to get them nice and glossy. So they came out really well. There's a little dust in there, but nothing noticeable. And there's the shrouds around. So now we're gonna start reassembling everything. These go together exactly like they came back out. Just pop those lenses back in, and then you have that gray retaining ring that goes behind. I like to clean the projector a little bit, and then I just use compressed air out of like a can to clean the inside of the housing. And then they pretty much go back together exactly like they came out. There's really no specific order to do this, so just bolt everything back in as you go. And then here's our actual rings we got from Precision Racework. This is what comes in the box. So you got all 4 of your rings, nicely packaged. And then on the right was all your sealant for the headlight. Now this is why I went with these headlights. They kind of go in like the OEM ones do, which is what I really wanted. So these just screw in like the original one did, and then just make sure it's lined up. It's pretty easy to do. And then the second inner ring just clips on exactly like the factory one did. There's the completed inner ring with that locking gray tab back on the back. And then we just slide it back into the shrouding, and there's a clip on the top and the bottom. Just make sure those are secure. You don't want those to pop off because your ring will fall off. And then we're ready to put this one back in the housing. Just run all the wiring through the back. It all goes together pretty well. And then they just plug straight into the OEM lighting plugs. And then I just tucked everything in there. Cable management was not that strong, but it works. Now putting the sealing on is pretty straightforward. Just stretch it out a little bit to thin it out, and then just pack it into that channel. And this is why cleaning out the old stuff is really important, so you can get a good amount in there. And then I just use the tape to press it down because it doesn't stick to the tape. It is very sticky stuff. Don't forget to plug that corner light in. If you're keeping that, you don't have to. And then all you have to do is press the lens back in. I heated up the glue a little bit with a heat gun, just to make it more malleable. And then press the lens back in and make sure all the tabs clip. And then I just use some channel locks very gently to compress the lens a little bit more. And that's pretty much all it takes. Just ensure that they're sealed really well. You don't want moisture to get in there and you have to pull them apart and redo them. And then I heated them up to kind of activate the glue and pop the cover back on. Okay, you guys, the lights are back in the car. They look fantastic. I'm super stoked how these came out. Wasn't too difficult of a process overall. It did take some time, and the one thing you really want to make sure of is if you are painting the housings, one, if you're not painting them, do not touch the chrome with your bare hands. It will scratch insanely easy. But if you are painting them, make sure you allow enough time for the paint to off gas before you seal the headlight back up. You don't want all that gas coming off of the paint and then possibly clouding up your headlight from the inside, which you would have to take it apart again. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But here they are. I think they look great. The black paint came out good. The rings look great. They fit good. They sealed back up just fine. They are a little hard to see on camera, but they are incredibly bright. I mean, many, many times brighter than factory headlights. I don't know if you can see the light reflecting on the door, but obviously the bumper's not back on. Still finishing everything under here. We're almost there though. But headlights are in. Can't even pick them up on the camera. So anyways, I'm gonna end this video here. Hopefully that helped you guys. It kind of seems like a scary project, especially, I mean, in my mind it was, especially with how expensive these headlights are. You know, a new set, you're like $800–900 a headlight, I think. But use a heat gun in my mind. It comes apart just fine with a heat gun. You don't really have to bake them if you don't want to put everything in the oven, which was I was kind of hesitant on. So hopefully that helped you guys, but overall super easy process, nothing crazy, just take your time. I did get a little of the sealant on this lens. You can't even tell because it's black. But I'll leave it there. Keep following. The car's gonna hopefully run this next video after this one, and then we can start driving it, tuning it, and then we'll see how much power it makes with the new turbos. But don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned, check it out on social media. I post behind the scenes stuff there, and that's about it. I'll see you guys on the next one.